Hi Techie guys, I'm Nand Kishore Swami and today we will be learning about how we can stitch all of our bot that might have built with any of the technology like Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, UiPath, Pagger Robotics, or even with the coding like C Sharp or Python. Those bot will be stitched with the LLM. So LLM can access these bot and run it whenever required and send the response back to the user. And the mechanism used to communicate between the robot and LLM is called as MCP, Model Contact Protocol. So that's the kind of standard will be utilized across the industry um, for all the bot to be interacting with the LLM. So here you can see user sends the query and the LLM it figure it out that it need to access or run a bot, then it will find out that particular bot and run and then send the response back to the user. But all the communication between the LLM and the bot will be happening through the MCP. So our bot first need to be converted as a MCP server, uh, and LLM need to be converted as a MCP client. So LLM will be MCP client and bot will be behaving like a MCP server. And for all these use cases, we will be using Python as our coding language. So let's go ahead and open up any of your folder location and create a new folder. Give any meaningful name for this particular use case. We're going to give the name as Robotic with LLM using MCP. And now open up this folder in Visual Studio Code. That's what I will be using. Once we open up that folder in Visual Studio Code and all the coding we will be doing in Python, so it's a best practice to always create a virtual environment. So whatever the library or the dependency we're going to use, that will be stored in one particular location. So let's go ahead and open up your terminal and type the command to create the virtual environment, which is Python dash v e n v of and the name of your virtual environment that can be anything. So I'm just going to give the name as my env and hit enter. So it will create a virtual environment in the same directory. And if you open up that folder, you will see there are certain files are created. So now the second step that we need to do is we need to activate this virtual environment. So first we need to go to the my environment directory and under that you will find a script and then activate. In script we can see this activate. Once you hit enter, it will activate the virtual environment. And now the next step is first we will create a .env file to store all the keys that we're going to use. So for our LLM instance, we will be using Google Gemini because that's the free version. So we'll store the Google Gemini's API key in that .env file. So First, let's create a new file and give the name dot env and hit enter. And here you can add on your key. Next step is to create the another Python file that later on we'll be using as a MCP client. So we can give any name. So I'm going to give it as MCP client dot py. Now, first we need to access the environmental variable to get the key. So since that library is not installed in this environment, so we'll install it using this dot em. So once this library is installed, we need to use the loop, and this will load all the variable values that we stored in the .env file into the system's environmental variable. So whenever required, we can access these. So now, since we have loaded our Google Gemini's API key into the environmental variable, next step is to access the LLM. So that we're gonna do using another library called as LangChain Google Gemini info. Chat seems like that library is not also installed on the system, so we'll install it using pip install command. Now we have installed the required all the libraries. So next step we will create the LLM instance, which is LLM equal Google Gemini. So the model that we are going to use is let's go ahead and check what latest version we have. So if we go to the Google and type Gemini, uh, then go to the first link. And here you can see the model name. So let's copy this model name and paste it here. The other parameters are not mandatory, so we are good there. And now let's add a breakpoint and run this. If it fixes the okay, it's all succeeded and it's on the breakpoint. So LLM instance is created. You can go ahead and go to debug console and check how LLM is responding. So LLM dot invoke is the method to check if your LLM is working. So I'm just type the hello And here you can see the response. It means our LLM setup is all good and it's working. Now, as a next step, we will create a bot which will open up the notepad and write text into it. So let's create another file called as MCP server for notepad action and .py. And to write a function that opens up the notepad and write a note into it, I'm just going to use the GitHub Copilot. Write a note. So to opening up the notepad and writing a note into it, it's required another library called as Py Auto UI. So I'm just going to go ahead and install it. So I need to go to the terminal and terminal and activate the environment first and then run the quick install. Okay, this is also done. So I'm gonna add print, add a breakpoint there and run it, and let's see if our bot works. Oh, we did not add a code to run this function. So before that, we need to create the main function or the entry point, which is this one, to call out this function. Now let's run it up. Now you see, so now you can see our bot has completed their action, which is opening up the notepad and then typing a note into it. So I'll just run it up one more time. See how it goes this time. Opening up the notepad and writing. So we are good there. Our first bot is created. Now we'll create another bot that will open up the Google and do a Google search there. So let's go ahead and create another file for MCP server Google search. dot py. Now, here also we'll utilize the GitHub Copilot to write the code. So I'm gonna give the prompt to oh, open the using. Okay, write Python using. Oh, it seems to be writing into the first file. Okay, let's add it here. The code is being added, but we also need to install the two different library scenes. So let's install this. Oh, didn't activate the environment. So before running the second command, we'll go back and first activate the environment and then run the first command. And now run the second command. I can press this. So both of these commands is to install the required dependencies for Playwright, and Playwright is a kind of framework from Microsoft to automate any of the browser actions or any activity that we perform on the browser that can be automated using Playwright. And in this code snippet, you can see it will just opening up the browser and then navigating to Google. So you will see this action also happening, and it's gonna wait for 10 seconds and then close the browser. And I'll also add a debug point there to see if this code runs fine. Yeah. So it seems like took little time to install all the required dependencies. Now we can see all the Playwright dependencies are installed, and now we can go ahead and run this function to see how it opens the browser and navigate to google.com, let's say. So I'll just run. Now you can see, open up the Google browser and went to Google. It will wait for 10 seconds and then closes. Now we have created the two different bots. One bot is opening up the notepad and entering certain text into it. Another bot just opening up the browser and going to the Google Doc. So now we'll give LLM access to both of these bots using MCP protocol. So to use the MCP, we need to convert both of these bot to the MCP server. And to convert as a MCP server, we need to use another library called MCP dot server dot fast MCP. Here we'll import fast MCP. Since this library is also not installed, so we need to first install it up. This library is part of MCP. Okay. And now we'll create the MCP instance here. And we'll give a name as MCP server Google search. Any we can give any name here, that will be fine. And in the next line, we just need to type MCP dot tool. And here in this function, we need to add a comment that will be utilized by the LLM to understand what this function does. So that's a kind of a prompt that we are going to utilize. Okay, this is how you can convert your any of the bot into the MCP server by adding like these 2-3 line of code. First, just import the first MCP library and then create the MCP instance and then add this line uh, on just before your function, and in the main function we also need to make a little change there. So here also we need to type mcp dot run, and in the run we need to supply the transport protocol. And the transport protocol for this use we will be using as a web service that will opening up the browser and taking that action. That is called as streamable HTTP protocol. So just you can see and on select this off, and optionally you can supply any of the port there. And if you want to add a comment, then you can add additional print comment command there. Now you need to start this as a MCP server service. So for that one, you just need to type Python and your file name, which is MCP server Google search tab. Once you hit enter, okay, seems to be having some issue there. We remove, save it, and then run. Yeah, seems to be good now. Okay, our first MCP server is up and running. That is having capability to opening up the browser and navigating to Google. We can also have it to take user input to which particular website it need to navigate. So let me change it to that way. So I just press Control C to stop it, and you are as a string, and the default value we're gonna give it as a Google, and I'll change it to URL. So in this function, if you go code line by line, in the first line, we are just importing the MCP server required dependencies. Second line, we are just importing the playwright dependencies. And then in line number 4, we are creating an instance of MCP. Line number 6, adding the MCP tool tag there, and then created a function which will be opening up the browser and navigating to one of the URL. Now let's go ahead and start this MCP server. So now this bot, which is opening up the browser and navigating to the URL, converted as a MCP server, so our LLM can access it whenever required. Now our MCP server is running through the HTTP protocol, and on this local host at 8000 port. Now we'll go to the notepad one, and that one will convert to a different communication protocol, which is called STDIO, which is standard input and output using a command prompt window. So for that one, also we need to import another, again, MCP server, and fast MCP info fast MCP. Here also we need to add a CPU dot tools, or I'll just simply copy this line and paste it there. Hmm, we are good now. created the MCP instance, and then added the tag on the function. Now, the next thing that we need to change is how we call this function. So that protocol we need to use as a MCP dot run. Two thing is completed. One, both of our bot is converted as a MCP server. And how do we do that? Just adding MCP fast library. So this is how you can convert any of your bot into the MCP server. And now we'll go to the MCP client and give access to these two MCP servers that we converted to our bots. So here what we need is we need to first import couple of libraries. First one is from LangChain MCP adapter, and we're going to import the multi-server MCP client. Multi-server MCP client. So that library is also not part of the current downloaded ones. So I'll open up new terminal, activate the environment, and then do the installation. Okay, since we have put lunch adapters forward, but now this function will be running async mode, so we'll use the async IO library, and then we'll create the function, and in this client we'll give access to both the our bot here, so that access will be done in the two different ways. Since one is MCP standard input output server, another one is normal API server, which is HTTP protocol. So I just remove the default value here and we'll code that function. First one is our MCP server for Notepad, and the transport protocol is stdio, but we don't need that one. That we can run through the Python commands. So I'll just use as a command and change it to Python. And an argument, we need to supply the uh, file name where we have this food. And that file name is MCP. Yeah, that's the file. And transport is STD. External system. Okay, let me see it. Yeah, that's the same name. It should exactly match with the name that we mentioned here, the server name that we given while creating the instance of fast MCP server API. And then command it's going to take is a Python one argument. In the argument, we need to supply the complete path of the file where we have our bot code. And then the transport protocol, we have used it here in this bot, which is STDI. So that's the information we need to have it to match. Now, similarly, we also need to have the same type of information from our another one, which is we created through the HTTP protocol. So, but here we need to have it a little different when we need to supply the URL where this API is running, and that URL you can find it in if you go to here. I'll just copy, go back to the server, client, and mention the URL where. Then we also need to add MCP again. So whatever the function we have in that file, will be covered under MC. Next one we may need to mention is the transport protocol. I'll just copy uh, and here it will be this one and just need to change under. Now our first step is completed, but these are the actually tools that we need to give access to our LLM models. So for that one, at the end, here we mention about the tools. And now we'll create the agent that will have access to both our tools and then LLM. Create Seems like we are missing one of the library. Just create React agent and that is part of one line up and we also need to check library to install this one. I'll just open up another terminal and run the pip install. Okay, we are good there. Now we need to create the agent and we need to supply. I think these information should be on board. Now we'll create the response. Okay, we are all done from the client side. So this in the client, here we have mentioned about what all server we have created. The server is nothing but our bots. The bot will be accessed by this LLM whenever it seems there is a requirement to run those bots, then it will access those individual bot and run it. Uh, so if you see, while doing or while having this capability in the client, both the servers should be up and running. So in the Notepad one, I think this is not yet running, but the Google Chrome is running in this terminal. So we are good here. So I'll just run the Notepad one. So I'll go to terminal and type Python and then the Notepad file code Python file name and hit enter. So this is also up and running now. We'll go to the MCP client and we'll see if our LLM can access both of these bots. To have the LLM access to these bots, now whatever the prompt we have supplied here, it should match, not the exact one, but partial match should be there. So here we have given it open up the notepad and write a note. And in this one, it's open up the web browser and go to the Google. Okay, so we'll write a prompt here, like write a note in Notepad and then browser and navigate to navigate. Let's say lunch. Now let's run it and see how it goes, whether it's able to run the bot or not. So it's running, but given the error, okay, await function is missing. So if we go on the top, function is defined about, as a sync, and then the MCP client these also seems okay. And then okay, we need to run this function as a async one. So at the end, alkyl async io dot run dot main and will also print the response. Now let's see how it goes. Was never close response. Okay, there's an L. Let's see this time. Okay, the issue with this library. Activating the environment and then installing the library. Okay, seems all good there. Okay, multiple client, multi-server MCP client. We should be good. Let's another error. Langra rebuild create your task. Okay. Let's run it. Mhm. Another error. Seems like we have supplied some extra parameter. So we'll just give only these two and remove these rest of. Now we'll see how it goes. Oh, it shouldn't be LLM. It is model. Okay. Okay, let's see now. Object client cannot be. Let's see what I'm missing. I think that red, then the client. Two away client, get two is okay. Oh, it's A invoke, which is async invoke because we are keeping our response in async way. Let's see and run it. goes to this breakpoint. So I'm gonna run it up. Seems like it has completed all the steps. I'll just close all the other windows and run it one more time. And let's see how it goes this time. And before running the client, we just need to make sure the other two servers are up and running. In the first one, you can see it has been called and this communication has happened. And in the other one, this is also up and running. So I'll just run it one more time and see how the action is happening. So in summary, we created the two bot and then converted them into the LLM MCP servers. In this bot, we are opening up the one of our browser, which might be Microsoft Edge or Google Chrome, and then navigating to one of the URL. And in another server, we are opening up the notepad and writing a note into it. And here we have our client that will be accessing these two bot whenever it is required or whenever it is asked by the user. So here we are giving the prompt as a user asking our LLM to open up the notepad and write about the LLM and then open up the browser and navigate to Google. So before running our client, we need to make sure our both the server or whichever the server that we are requesting LLM to access and run it, that should be up and running. You can find there is a long list of all the different type of server available that you can utilize. And for this one, let's go ahead and run it. Once I run, you will notice it opening up the notepad, writing the LLM. It should also supposed to open up the browser and go to Google, which might seem to have some issue, but here you can see in the response, it has given all the details. Yeah, that's it about today's tutorial. Thanks for watching.